Welcome back to More Law. Ohio and Indiana Bar Associations require us to share with you the information of the attorneys appearing on the show, which of course we're happy to do. John Caldwell of Young & Caldwell, LLC, 225 North Cross Street, West Union, Ohio, 45693, 937-544-5095. The Moore Law Firm is with Dad and I, Don and Dan Moore, 1060 Nimitzview Drive, Suite 200, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45230. Phone number there is 513-232-2000. John, you want to pick up with that last call and give a little information there?
I'd like to give Eric a little bit of information. If this individual is shooting across or over your property, I think that's a serious, very serious event. I can't understand why law enforcement wouldn't be involved or want to be involved in that, but you should definitely talk to legal counsel. It's a nuisance. It's a very dangerous situation, and I think if you have to hire legal counsel, the courts would compel that person not to shoot across your property. It's very serious.
Yeah, things you don't want to ignore there, obviously. One of the things, Dad, that we see a lot is injuries, and I think we see them arise at work. We see them arise in car crashes, medical malpractice. And I know you've handled a lot of burn injuries, and we have a graphic here that we want to talk about for just a minute.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I do. We've had actually several explosion cases where people have had serious burns and, of course, auto accidents and other things similarly. And we brought a couple illustrations to show how skin grafts are actually prepared. They actually take a split thickness of the skin off the thigh, and that's what our illustration there shows, how they harvest that skin. Then we have another illustration that talks about how they expand that skin so the graft is actually larger than what they take. They get more bang for the buck on the graft itself. And sometimes you'll see a person who's had grafts and there's like a texture on it, and you can almost feel it and you can see it. And the reason you have that texture is because they run the skin through this little machine and actually makes what might have been a square inch, maybe an inch and a half by an inch and a half instead of just 1 square inch, so they can actually make it go further. And that's a big deal for burn victims and people who've been involved in wrecks or other injuries that have involved a lot of area of skin that can't be just closed and pulled back together.
Yeah, the medical field is always expanding, and there's always something new to talk about and see. So let's go to our next caller. Elizabeth, what do you have for us?
Hi. Last year, April 11th, our family had a dryer vent fire. After the detective and the fire chief, went over everything, they determined it was arson. I submitted the 4 polygraph tests, passed all 4. They actually took it to the Pt2 jury, and they were like, you have no case here. Now I'm left with a 1,200 square foot basement, completely gutted, and still damaged from the fire. I know I can go back on the insurance, but can I hold the police department and the fire department responsible for anything?
I didn't hear that very last part. Did you say, are you asking whether you can sue the police department or the fire department?
Yes, and hold them responsible.
That is a very difficult thing to do, generally speaking. Dad, why don't you get into that big can of worms there?
Elizabeth, I would say generally speaking, the short answer is no. They have immunity. They're doing their job, and if they do it well or they do it poorly, they still have immunity. So if you have a claim against your insurance company, if you have insurance that covers that, you can still pursue your insurance company because unless they can show that you've committed fraud by starting the fire yourself, then you've got coverage. But you've asked a different question. The question is, can you sue the fire department or the police department because they accused you and they failed? And the answer is generally no, unless you can show that they did something wrong on purpose.
All right, thank you. And I think we have time for one more call.
Nicole?
Hi. My question is my sister's in a custody battle right now. And while we were on vacation, when we came back, her person that she's involved in the custody battle with had called social services on her and my family. And I was wondering how long a typical case like that stays open, especially when they come in and they see that nothing's wrong.
Okay. John, do you have anything to add there about a custody battle? How long does that take typically?
Well, it depends on the court you're in, and it also depends on your counsel and the other counsel. I guess I'm not certain what the child was injured, was not injured.
No injuries. They accused us of doing drugs, but we're not, and we told them we'd take drug tests for them.
Isn't that one of those deals where it's like, how long's a piece of string?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Custody is one of the worst things that people get involved in battles because it's just very hurtful, and it involves your children. So you need to talk with counsel and ask them, how long is this going to take?
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks very much for joining us. We're going to hit next week with workers' comp, hurt on the job. Join us then with your questions. Thank you very much.